Okay, can you guys see my peer mentor program theme there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. It's 7 o'clock. All righty here. Okay, why don't each of us on your right hand side, if you've got it here, introduce yourself a little, because John Herberger is new, so we can let him know who we are. Everybody here is John. This is people that are usually here at every time, and you can see their pictures on the right hand side. I guess it's the right hand side. I'm Randy, and I'm the facilitator for this. David?
I'm David.
And who are you?
Well, I've been with the group since the inception, I guess. Randy,
yes, you have.
And currently the president of the photography club.
All right. John?
I'm John Heberger.
Heberger, okay.
Junior, actually, since my father still lives in Jackson Hole, but I've lived here full-time in Jackson for 17 years and have spent a lot of time doing photography, just hadn't made the time and effort to really get involved with the photography club here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and you get big rewards for doing this too. Make friends. All right.
Tim, and I've been with the club for maybe 4 years now. Been doing a lot of photography on and off through the years, and the club kind of gets me out there more. Maybe not quite as much as this summer, but it kind of forces you to get out and do stuff and think outside the box and get out of your comfort zone a little bit. So it's kind of a good experience.
And try new things. I mean, yeah, almost every month it's something new. Okay, who else?
I'm Ben. Am I on here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Ben Nardi. I've been with the group 7 years, 6 years, 6 years.
Since about the beginning, maybe 6 months into
it. Yeah. I'm just a hack with a camera. I like to do black and white. That's where I live. That's about it.
Let me explain something for John that would explain something why you're in it today. Each month we have a theme challenge, and you'll see we have 2 votes on it. And whether we have 8 photographs or 18, we have two votes. The first one, we get it down to maybe 3 people for a second vote. And then of those 3 or 4 people, whoever wins gets the most votes. They get to pick the theme for the next month. And if Ben wins it, he almost always picks black and white. Nothing against it. It's just a good challenge for me.
Yeah.
Okay, Joyce. Got to hit your mic.
You're muted. You're muted, Joyce.
Now I am no longer muted, I believe.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm Joyce Fry. My husband, who comes around sometimes, is Doug Ross, and I've been around for a few years, but I'm sort of a dilettante, and so yeah. I don't know what else.
Sometimes here, sometimes not. Sometimes with a photo, sometimes not. But we appreciate having you here, no matter what.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Randy. And I went to the University of Michigan, so I get my ire up every time I see Randy's Michigan State hat. But
I don't have a shirt or hat with U of M on it or Michigan State on it.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
Penny,
M,
how
go
about you?
blue.
Go blue.
Yep.
Penny. Can Penny hear us? Okay, let's go to Charlotte. There you go.
Gotta unmute myself. Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay, fine. Well, John, welcome to the club. I know you from the Geologists of Jackson Hole, and I've seen some of your beautiful photography, so we're glad to have you. And I've been with the Pure Mentors few years.
Probably about 4, I think, 'cause you were a couple years before we went Zoom. And there's something else about Charlotte that'll lead into Barney. Charlotte's here. How many months of the year, Charlotte? 4 or 5?
6, try to be.
Half here, half in North Carolina.
That's right. Half in the
And
Charlotte area.
You're in a photography club in North Carolina, right?
Well, a couple. I am in the Charlotte Camera Club, and I'm also in the North Carolina Nature Photographers Club, and that's a really wonderful club. So
Okay.
I've been able to stay in all 3 since there's been COVID and lots of Zoom meetings. It's really been a benefit to my photography.
Barney, we're talking North Carolina, so you go next.
Okay, yeah, happy to do that. This is Barney Kazalka. I split my time between Jackson and Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So I'm a true blue Tar Heel fan in that regard. I'm a Nikon shooter and love to dabble in IR black and white, as well as doing recently a lot of panorama work and nighttime work. So that's where I like to spend a lot of my time and effort.
Okay. Sue? Sue Laurie?
There we go. Let me unmute. Let's see. I think I had my first conversation with Randy. I think my voice was shaking when I called him around 2017.
Oh, wait, you got to tell him it's not because I'm scary or nasty. Please say that.
No, Randy was very understanding, coaxed me to coming to the first meeting. So as I said, I think that was around 2017, 2018. So I've been with the club since then. And I have to say, through the peer mentor program and through selecting different themes and then reading the articles and going out and using what those articles talk about in there, has really, really expanded for me my view of what's possible with my camera. So it's just been a pleasure. And my PS right now is I just bought a Canon R6. Wahoo.
Good for you.
Moving forward. I'll send you your check for saying nice things tomorrow, Sue.
Okay, yes, I'm the
All right,
designated shield.
Penny.
Hey, I'm Penny Black. I've been with the club for a few years. I'm really fascinated by flowers and the little things that you find when you're going hiking. Yeah, I just do it for my mental health. Get out there with the camera. I enjoy the club because it's taught me to look at things differently, not just what I like. So yeah, it's a good place.
And you send a picture almost every month. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but there are some people that send me a picture every month. There's some people that are on and off sometimes, some that just rare. It doesn't make any difference to me. I mean, sure, I'd like to have more people that are actually sending pictures in, but getting to know one another and getting the feedback from people is one of the things that that I really think is helpful to everybody that's in the Peer Mentor Group. Okay, let's move on to the PowerPoint that I've got. That's another thing that I do, John, every week is a PowerPoint. And one of the things that we've added about a year or two ago was to look at some not so good pictures that I always encourage people to send to me. And we had 2 or 3 people that send those to me. So our monthly theme is black and white landscape. And we're going to talk a little bit about what makes black and white landscape stand out. But before we get to that, I want to go over the calendar. I'll send an email to you guys tomorrow or Saturday at the very latest. This time I'm out of the bad month, and August is going to be a whole lot better for me. There are 3 things that are happening that you need to be aware of. The first one is we're going to have a photo shoot and camping by the Teton Photography Club on August 20th. And I think there's some really cool things that I can find it now, just a minute. What's up here? That David sent to me. Let's see what we got here. Got to be patient with me because I have a hard time with this. Okay, here we go, David. I think you're going to be able to see this. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move it along, David, while you're talking about it. This is pretty cool stuff, I think.
Yeah. Well, bottom line, on the 20th, we're going to have a photo shoot out at Brooks Lakes Lodge, and they do something similar to some of the other ranches. They do a horse run from one area to the other. So a cool chance for some photography. You should probably be there by 3. The horses start at 4. And if you like, this is optional. You can camp overnight and we'll do sunrise, from the Brooks Lake area. So we'll send out all these details, this document that Randy has. So we'll put it all in the newsletter in a couple of days. And so you'll be getting that in email with all the details and where to go and who to contact if you're coming and that kind of thing. So most definitely, if you plan to stay overnight, you'll want to get on this pretty quickly. So I'm sure those camping spots will go quickly. So, and I want to thank Karen Schiller and Rachel Dunlop. They're the ones that organized this. So
Here's the pictures for this. Is there anybody here, David, or anybody else that's actually been here and stayed overnight?
Oh, I've certainly been there. I've never stayed overnight, but I believe Rachel most certainly has stayed there. She's provided the photo of the vault toilet. Or as she calls it, the dummy. But anyhow, yeah, it's a nice spot. We've been
So
up there all night.
is the Wind River Lake picnic site right on where we're going?
No.
No,
That's far off. And I know the Upper Jade Lake is a pretty serious hike from there to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but
beautiful
you know,
there.
if you come prepared, I mean, if you're a good hiker, come prepared to hike. Or you can just come for the photo shoot with the horses. But we'll get out some more information to you. So the other thing I wanted to say, I don't know, Randy, if it's on your list, but we got selected by the library to use their facility for our monthly meetings.
Ooh.
So starting in September, we will be having meetings in person again. And also we'll do them in combination with Zoom. So you can either do it online or in person, but they will be at the library. So.
Okay, let me jump ahead a little bit.
Okay.
Right from here. Okay, here's our calendar. So we've talked about the TPC photo shoot on August 20th. Then we'll have our peer mentor Zoom meeting on August 24th. So August so far is pretty much standard the way it's been for the last 2 years. But then this last one, if you'd like to talk a little more about it, David, the library has approved us coming there. And so we've changed it to Tuesdays. Can you explain a little bit what we're going to be doing, David?
Well, I mean, the biggest change is we're going to be doing the third Tuesday for our in-person meetings at the library. And that's strictly because that's the day they allowed us to have. But so, a slight change. Instead of coming on the third Wednesday, we're going to do it on the third Tuesday, but we will do a combination of in-person and Zoom meetings from the library.
And because we think that it's probably best for us in the Teton Photography Club to always use the same day, that we're going to move the peer mentor Zoom meeting, or eventually, John, if we ever get over this COVID thing, we have a bank that we go to, Meridian Trust, with one of the peer mentors that has it. We're not going to be doing that on the fourth Wednesday. We're We're going to be going on the fourth Tuesday. And my feeling is, although we haven't met as a group yet, that we'll probably try to do most of our things other than photo shoots on Tuesdays as opposed to Wednesdays, so people don't get all confused about when to do it. Is that appropriate to say that, David?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. We don't want to confuse you. We want you to be there. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. Quick reminder of the challenge rules. This is particularly important since we have a new member. We have some rules that over the last 7 years, we kind of had to change just to make it comfortable for everybody. So sending your photos in to me have to be you have to have taken the pictures from in whatever the next theme is. For this month, it would be from today until noon of the day of the meeting, because there were sometimes that people were sending them to me like an hour before the meeting, and that made it real complicated for me, particularly because I usually was in the car. The photos can be taken with any type of camera, a phone, any type of post-processing. We're not big, that's not a really big deal. We ask you to follow the guidance of the articles in the Peer Mentor Program theme articles, which will be on the TPC website. And the most important rule tonight is this one. We'll be voting for black and white landscapes, and something for John and anybody else that's just coming along that hasn't been in a while. What we've tried to do is add photos at the beginning that don't quite meet the challenge, that somebody, one of the peer mentors sends me a photograph. It's not a bad photograph, but it just didn't make their final choice of what they would put. And then we talk a little bit about why that photo maybe doesn't meet the requirements or isn't that good of it, in this case, a black and white landscape, because we can learn from not just what's good, but what's not so good. And so what I've got tonight is about 8 photos that we'll look at that are black and white landscape photos, but maybe you think, I don't think I would vote for that one. And then we can talk about why that would be the case. So first of all, here's some suggestions that actually I got out of the article. That's the black and white photo tips article that I get kind of start to talking about. Oops, I'm gonna have to move you guys so I can see it myself. Okay, first characteristic, and this article talks about 5 different characteristics of good black and white photos, not necessarily black and white landscapes. We'll have to talk about that in a minute. So it suggests that good black and white landscape photos typically have, not always, but typically have wide contrasts in black and white. And that the article kind of points it out, and it's a good article if you haven't read it. That kind of contrast and width is really essential for the outstanding black and whites, although it also talks about some that aren't that way. Okay, wait a second here. Shoot, what's happening? Oh, there we go. Okay, next, tones. Do the photos have a wide variety of tones and contrast without blowouts, black or white? Shadows. Does a good black and white landscape have shadows that grab your attention, give you more depth of field? Shapes can grab our attention, particularly when there is no color, and that's what black and white is all about. Texture, and they have some really, in this article, they have some really interesting photos that show a lot of texture that come out of the lights and shadows. Whoops, let me go back. So from this article, these are 5 good characteristics, but you're going to find out that there will have some pictures that maybe don't have any of these. Now that's, the vote will always be up to you. Okay. Here's the informational feedback that we try to do. This is particularly for John, that we're trying to teach one another by giving feedback about the photographs that we see. The person who took the picture doesn't have to say that was my picture. but oftentimes that is the case because then you get a little more feedback on it. Second, composition. Does the photo have good composition? The black and whites, this is not as important as it is in some things, but composition of the photos still is important. Exposure has a lot to do with black and whites because it gives you more a broad chance of getting things right. Clarity in pixels. One of the things that this is aimed at you, John, not because you don't do this, but because we found that in the past it has been a problem. Sometimes people send their pictures to me that have very few pixels. So you'll be able to see that tonight. Make sure you send me the big pictures, not the little ones, because when they get to me and then I put them in my Lightroom, oftentimes they don't look very clear. And the theme, this is an interesting question. In the photo of landscape, black and white landscape photography, is there what does a photo need to meet the theme of landscape black and white? You're going to see that that's not as easy as you think. Some people actually called me or sent me a text message and asked and said, is this landscape black and white? And I said, you've got to make that decision. So when you're voting, that's something you might decide, well, God, it isn't really landscape. I thought that all of them really are landscape. Some of them are a bit of a stretch. Okay, here's the not so good photos that'll help us through deciding what it is we need to think about as we're voting. So here are two black and white photos. Actually, these are two that I took when I was up at Yellowstone about 3 weeks ago. Which ones do you like? Which one do you like? Or what do you not like about either of these or both of these in terms of a landscape black and white photograph? And John, you're going to find out that I have lots of patience waiting for my people. Okay, guys, what do you think?
They're both interesting photographs. The one on the right, I love the way the channel disappears up in, and there's a lot of depth, implied depth in that one on the right because of the way the channel goes off into the distance.
Okay. Anything you don't like about the left one, Charlotte?
Well, I'm just not sure exactly what you were taking a photograph of. And, it's
Doesn't grab your attention?
not a whole lot.
Say it. It doesn't get your attention at all. It was actually taken because of the ducks that are there. But I didn't have a big enough, long enough telephoto to get them. There's two on the left of the rock, one on the right.
That's good.
Oh, I missed the ducks.
So Randy, this is Barney. I'm not too keen on either one of these, and so I appreciate you putting them in. The one on the left, I think, would have been enhanced had you had the photographer done a long exposure on it to smooth out the water, and then if the ducks did not move, if you were that lucky, even a 3 or 4 second exposure, I think then they would have popped out more, and you would then be able to crop it down to zero in on whatever the subject is. The one on the right, I would have liked to have seen the image taken down from a lower position. I don't know whether I'm looking out of a window of an airplane or whether I'm standing on the boardwalk. And whenever, and I do this all the time as well with images coming off of the hot pools, and take them from up above because I think they look really neat, and then I grab a couple down low, and I end up always liking the ones taken down low.
Good point, real good point. Whether it's color or black and white, being close in some places of Yellowstone are very valuable to get a close-up view. Okay.
Yeah, I
Anybody
think
else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I just agree with Barney on the one on the right. I'd actually like to see more of whatever it flows into, which I think you could have gotten if you'd just gotten down a little lower. It's kind of chopped off at the top there.
Right.
I have a comment.
Oh,
So I'm thinking about the one on the left. I would have had a tendency also to crop that so that it was horizontal. That sort of wave in the lower left is distracting. And I'm just wondering if you kind of pulled it closer, as I said, horizontally, cut some off the top and off the bottom, so that you're looking kind of across left to right in that photograph, the ducks and the rock and that branch sticking
be
out.
more invited to look at those ducks.
Mm.
Yeah, you're taking out the extraneous stuff. It's not the river itself that really is the theme in this. So there's too much of it.
Okay.
And I think Barney's idea of blurring the water with a long exposure is a really interesting one.
Yep. Okay, anything else? Last question. Are both of these landscape photographs?
I'm not so sure about the one on the left. Like, I think Sue's idea would have zeroed in on the rocks and the ducks, which definitely wouldn't have made it a landscape. It's
Okay,
yeah, the way it is now, it's kind of a rock in the middle of the river. But and I think if you had cropped it the way she suggested, even if it wasn't a long exposure, you could have gotten those ducks to pop out quite a bit more.
okay.
I would tend to agree with that. And I don't know, the one on the right, I was having, partly because I'm on a phone, but I'm having a hard time seeing a landscape. You know, I see water flowing, but you know, I don't know that it would, you know, fall into that landscape. Again, if I could see where the water was going, you know, leading me to, yeah, then maybe it would be.
I agree with all of you. I think that these are not so good or not good at all, these two photos, and I didn't mind me putting my bad photos in. Okay, what about these? Three of them. Which one do you like the best, or are there problems that you have with all three, or what do you think?
Ooh.
I like them.
Penny?
They're all landscapes to me.
Okay. What makes them landscapes, Sue? What criteria do you have in your head? Because the articles that we read didn't really give a definition of landscape.
Yeah. Well, obviously the first one, and I'm assuming that's Old Faithful. You've certainly got a subject in the foreground, but you have a background in it as well with the forest. So it's something happening on the landscape. In the lower one, that's just a very long view. I don't know what you would call that other than a landscape.
Yeah.
And my reaction to the aspens, they're a part of the landscape, so it's a close up. I'm just trying to think of how I explain this as opposed to the rock and the ducks. I think it's because to me, the aspen have a lot more depth in them. So as I said, it's a subject in the landscape
Okay.
in a way that the rock and the ducks were not.
Anybody else?
I think
Who else?
the aspens, I would be tweaking, maybe try to get my blacks a little blacker, a little more contrast, you know, bring up the contrast in the structure a little bit. So we get a definite, I don't know, is that, am I looking at snow?
Yes, I think it's snow.
Yeah, you know, for that one, for the Old Faithful one, I don't know. I like the clouds. maybe darken the sky, maybe a red filter on the sky, to make that sky a little darker. I think it's a good landscape, but they just seem a little flat.
I picked this one. As always happens when you get to Old Faithful, I take 20 pictures or whatever.
Mhm.
And I picked this one for the not so good because you couldn't really tell the difference between the clouds and the exposure. I mean, the steam that's coming out of it. I had some others that were better than that. I think that it undermines the goodness of the picture that you don't see the difference between them.
Ben,
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
you mentioned using a red filter to darken the sky. And how do you do that in post-processing?
I use NYX's Silver FX, and they have a pull down for filters. And I would pick red and then slide the strength of the filter back and forth until I got something that I liked.
Okay,
Or I'd shoot.
Is the red filter on the right panel in?
Yes.
Okay, I'll look
Yeah.
for that. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, or I'd shoot it with a red filter.
That's really old school, Ben. I
Yeah,
remember
well,
back in the day when I
I
was shooting
resemble
with
that
black and
reminder.
white film. Okay, any other comments about these pictures? Okay, they're different. Which one do you prefer? What would you say of the three? Which one would you say is closest to a good black and white landscape? It seems like we've agreed they're all landscape.
Aspen.
Yeah.
I
Aspen?
think
I'd
the
go with the
aspen
aspens.
also, aspens.
Which one do you like the least?
Old Faithful.
Oh, really?
I don't like the bottom one.
The bottom one is a whole lot better in color.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're down to two. And I thought there's a clear difference between the two that might have something to do with black and white landscape. Which one do you like and what makes you like one better than the other? They're both kind of the same, they're both at the same place, but a different photograph.
I like the lower right one a little better.
Why do you like that one better, Sue?
I think, there's a distinct point of interest in it. I'm assuming that's around one of the hot pools, but so that broken crust there has some interest in it, and it has a lot of good contrast. Then you have the steam in the mid-ground, which is white in a contrast to the dark broken ground. And then you have the dark ridge behind that. So you've got contrast, but it's not overly busy. To me, the upper photograph has somehow a little too much. I'm not sure where my eye is supposed to settle on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Both of these are taken at the Grand Prismatic.
I'd have to agree with Sue. The one on the left, it's got a bunch of extra stuff going on there that doesn't really do anything to the image. The whole foreground and then almost everything on the right-hand side is just kind of there. So the one in the bottom right one's it's much more obvious what it is of.
And the one on the bottom right has nice leading lines.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
A lot of texture too.
The one on the top has this, what am I supposed to look at part of it?
Well, Randy, I
Yep.
think that the one on the top left has a lot of potential, but it's a great example of where we're working with the tones in some of the specialty programs could make that a really interesting, outstanding image. because you've got a
Okay.
nice center point and then two leading lines that move off of that. And they're not really accentuated as the photograph is right now. It's all pretty much in one or two tonal zones, and that really needs to be differentiated.
Okay. While the one
Need
on
to
the
get-
bottom has more tones to it.
Exactly right. That's right. And so our eye is drawn into that volcanic dark looking leading lines, and then we're moving up and exploring the rest of the image.
Okay. I think this is the last not so good one. Yes. So here, the difference, there's clear difference, but it's of the same picture essentially. The last one kind of had that, but this one is very different in that regard. Which one do you like? Why do you like it? And was there anything you'd want to change?
I'd kind of go with the top left one, partly for the same reasons. It's got a more obvious subject. It's the contrast on whatever that is stands out a lot more. The sky doesn't do much for me. I don't know if, it is what it is, I guess. You sort of doing sky replacement, but it's almost too dark. I like the darkness, either that or you could lighten up the mound or the mountain, whatever that is, a little more so it stands out.
The
one
whole mountain, Tim, or just the top?
You'd have to kind of play with it to get the contrast and tones on to come out a little more. It kind of doesn't, the top doesn't, kind of just blends into the sky. It doesn't pop out quite as much as I'd like it to, but it pops out more than the one in the bottom right.
Okay.
I
What
like
about-
the top one also. I'd like to see a little wider angle. It just seems kind of cramped. I don't know if that's the right term or not.
You're going to hear that this one is, you said up close. This one is, and we'll wait for the person who took this for a while. But that person told me this was really taken very close. Super wide angle lens.
Yeah.
I also like the upper one better. It does have more contrast. What bothers me about the lower one is the trees look weird. I'm assuming that might have been an infrared, and I've seen, like Barney did a beautiful infrared on the Snake River that still just, to me, is a jaw dropper, but it doesn't work here
Okay. What about the rest of
for
you?
me.
How about one or two more people say, which do you like and why?
Upper left, the contrast is much better, but the sky detracts from the image for me.
All over, John, or is it just at the very top where it's kind of a pure black in terms of the rock?
No, I don't shoot black and white. I'll say that right up front, but the sky just doesn't look natural to me, even though it's black and white. The contrast in the in the jointed Navajo sandstone is great. It's well captured, much better than in the lower right. And again, the trees in the lower right really come across as odd. I'd like that upper left one if something different could be done with the sky.
Okay. How about one more comment? And then we'll turn it over to the person that actually took the picture. I'll be the one person since nobody else is jumping in on this. I like the texture of the rock until it gets to the top. And then the top doesn't jump out at me because of the sky. But I like the trees more, the tree to the right, and I guess there's a bush and some trees to the left, than the bottom one. Because it looks like winter on the bottom one, except then you can see the street, the highway that's going there, and it's a little bit confusing to me. Okay. Person who took the picture, talk to us.
All right, thanks, Randy. This is
Thank
Barney.
you. I really enjoyed having two pictures like this because now we're getting down to little details.
So both of these are multi-shot panos done with an IR camera that is modified with an 830 nanometer filter on it, which means it eliminates all the visible light, and we're just looking at near infrared light on the image, and that helps with with giving us greater definition, especially if there's any water vapor in the air, which of course is not a big problem around here. But the upper left, it's interesting to hear these comments because the critique group that I belong to, when I first asked for comments about this, really disliked that image because it was the perspective of it is just so different from what's there. Let me put it that way. And so the story here is the first image on the lower right I took from down the road, and that I think is a 5 or an 8 shot vertical pano. That's and I stitch everything together with PT GUI these days, and then post processing is pretty much standard for infrared work. The one on the upper left was taken with the same lens, but that was at 18 millimeters instead of, I think it was 27 millimeters for the lower right panel. That's about 11 panels done with a vertical. And when you stand about 6 or 8 feet back from the checkerboard mesa at the ground level, you just kind of go, wow, that's great. But that's not what this image. That's not what this image looks like. The perspective just is really out of proportion for what's really there. The sky is the sky. I mean that's an easy thing to fix, and I'm actually going to go back and look a little closer at this image. But I gave these to Randy just to show the difference in perspective, and so you can kind of get what you want when you're doing panos. One final comment: when you're doing panos and they're wide angle, you have to be very careful about where your nodal point is, and the nodal point on this was a little bit off, and that's what gave the center bulge to the checkerboard mesa in the upper left-hand corner. It's less visible in the lower right because we're much further away. So that's just something to keep in mind if you end up shooting a lot of panos. If you do that, by the way, I highly recommend investing $200 or $300 in a good pano head that you can set the angle at and not have to worry too much about the overlap. That's it,
Barney,
Ray.
where
Oh, go ahead.
is Checkerboard Mesa?
It's in Zion. I was at I did a week-long workshop in Kanab the beginning of May, doing Milky Way photography, panorama Milky Way photography, and we had one day before we had to drive back to Las Vegas, and my friend Ray Tice, who was on the winter Yellowstone trip with us, he's from Chapel Hill as well. He was with me, and we had one day. So Zion is about an hour away from Kanab, so we shot up there and did a lot of work looking for leading lines in the sandstone and the like. And of course, Checkerboard Mesa is one of the primary places to catch that.
I like this because it's a good example of contrast, tone, and texture. That makes both of these stand out. Okay, ready to move on. So there's 9 not so good photos, and they had some strengths and weaknesses. What do you think were the most important characteristics? And this is important for us to take a little time to talk about. What are the most important characteristics of black and white landscape photos? before you've seen the 10 that people have set in.
Good contrast.
Okay, good. And I would add to that, that it's extreme contrast from pure black to pure white and everything in between. Anything else? Not anything else. What else? Is
But you
it
still have to have good
black and white?
composition.
David, what?
I said you still have to have good composition, no matter what. So
Yep. Can't have noisy, distracting things like one of those pictures that I had from Yellowstone had some of that. What else?
Well, it seems like it, especially with black and white, you kind of need a good sky if the sky's included. So you need some clouds or something up there to give it some punch. I think one of those pictures just had basically a blank sky, and there wasn't much sky, but it didn't do anything for the image.
Okay.
So the sky with clouds, especially with black and white, is going to be more important.
It's interesting because even with a colored photo, if it's just a blue sky and there's a lot of it, it doesn't add anything. It actually takes something away. So I think your point, Tim, is really good, really important. Anything else? Okay. What will have an impact on your vote? Give that some thought. I didn't need to have an question mark at the end, but that's what I want you to do, is think about which ones, when you make the vote, we'll have, because we got 10, you'll get 3 votes. Why did you vote on X, Y, or Z? Okay, let's see. Okay, this is so we can help John figure out how this works. There's going to be 10 images. I'll probably give you 10 seconds on each of them, and then you can look at them, and we'll go through them again, so you get a chance to look at all 10 of them. I'm sorry, 12 of them. There's 12 of them. And so we'll have 2 rounds that you'll send to David on the, what is it called? The chat room, David? Is that what it is? I think it's called the chat room.
yes, send it to me personally on the chat. Otherwise, everybody will see your votes.
Yeah, you don't need to send it to anybody other than David. And the first voting round will have 4 votes, your favorite 4 of the 12. Then after David does us the important thing of adding it all up, he'll pick out the top 3, 4, sometimes even 5 pictures that we're going to vote on again. But then we go back to the ones that aren't going to make the second round, and we critique those 4, 5, 6, 7 photos, so that everybody that submits a photo gets feedback on their photo. Then we have the second vote, which comes down to everybody gets 1 vote, and there usually would be 3, maybe 4 photos to do that with. Okay, wait a second. Let me get out of this and get back to this.
How many photos did you say, Randy?
There's 12 of them.
And also, please put a comma between your votes if you can.
Yeah. And you're going to find that kind of changes from the first round to the second round. Wait a minute. Has this happened yet?
You're sharing your Lightroom screen now.
Okay, now you see it. Okay. Here are the 12 photos. And for the first round of voting, this would be number 1, this would be number 2, this would be number 12, this is number 10. So I'll give you big pictures. Let's see here. There's the big picture. This is, oh, wait a second, I gotta get rid of this too. So this is all you see, right?
Yep.
You get the full picture. Okay. So this is photo number 1. I'm going to show all of them to you big picture, then you can look at them in small picture, and then I'll give you big pictures again. But pick out your 4 favorites.
I'm still seeing your desktop behind the picture, Randy.
My desktop. Wait a second. Is that fix it?
Yes, yes,
All right.
thank you.
See, sorry, but I can't see what you see. So I appreciate any of you giving me feedback about that. Okay, this is photo number 1. This is photo number 2. This is photo number 3. This is photo number 4. Photo number 5. Photo number 6. Photo number 7. Photo number 8. Photo number 9. Photo number 10. Photo number 11. Photo number 12. So there are all 12 of them. I'm going to show them to you again, but really the second time around, it's kind of deciding on that third and fourth one or something like that. I can actually make this a little bigger. Oops, not that big. Okay. So you can send your votes, your 4 votes to David now, but I'm going to go through this again. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. Here's 5. Here's 6. Here's 7. Here's 8. Here's 9. 10. 11. 12. Okay. Send your 4 to David in the chat room. How you doing, David?
Well, how many do you want? We got a lot of ties.
We got lots of ties here.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's the flourless cake? I know.
So,
I got it.
Randy, I'm going to give you 5.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Make sure I got these counted right. You know. Okay. Number 1,
Okay,
number 2,
okay,
number 6,
6, okay,
number 7,
okay,
and number 12.
12. Oh, okay, so it's number 1. Wait a second here. Make sure I do this right. Number 1, number 2, number
6,
6, 7,
and
and
12.
12. So filter rated ones. Okay, so okay, now here are the ones that are going to the second round, but we're going to go back and do the ones that we don't have and give some, whoops, wait a second. Shoot. How do I turn this off?
Unrated.
Yeah,
Unrated, is it?
Click your
Okay.
star. There you go.
Okay, that's, oh, but no, that's not it, because now it's, oh yeah, this would be the ones we got. Okay, that's fine. Okay. What about this one? Good positive feedback, negative feedback. Talk about whether it's landscape or not, what you like, what you don't like.
I like the way the photographer framed the falls with the trees.
Okay. Others?
I like the framing as well, but I could not see the falls differentiated from the white of the surrounding canyon. So it all blended together, and I think you'll hear my comment a lot on with all these is that the tonality difference really is very limited for a lot of these images.
Okay.
Barney, how would you make that the lower falls stand out when you were processing this image?
Well, I would probably use luminosity masks and select the canyon walls, and then do some brushwork, dodging and burning to keep the water white, and get it to stand out a little bit more.
So you would
Rather
tone
than,
down the walls of the canyon and
Well,
make them.
that's kind of where I would start, Charlotte. But I mean, again, to go back, and the framing is really nice because you got the trees on the left that really help the frame of where to look. It's just unfortunately, and this is where I think we would agree that the color image would really stand out.
And I feel like the photographer needed to bring out the rocks in the foreground a little bit more. They're too dark, I think. Maybe that's wrong. But I on my screen, I can kind of see them almost, but I'd like to see them just a little bit more.
so maybe
you
to
also-
lighten the rocks in the front, but to darken, offset the walls of the canyon. so that your eye goes to the falls, right? Not right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and you know, one way to do that is to, if you're just using Lightroom, is to use a radial filter on this, and that helps focus the eye towards the falls.
Mhm. See, this is my picture. And well, I did try to make the falls stand out by lightening them some, but I never really thought about darkening the walls or lightening up the rocks in the foreground, because that's where you start. I mean, I bet you all of you have been to that place taking pictures for somebody's wedding, probably. But yeah, you want to get people to look at those falls with details, and just fixing the falls really didn't answer the question.
Sky
Thank
is
you for the-
nice.
Go ahead.
Sky is nice.
Yeah, it turned out that I was really glad that it had that sky.
I wonder
Okay.
what it would look like without the rocks in front.
I tried that, and I thought that the rocks kind of get you started, but I didn't think of it as lightening them up just a wee bit might have helped.
I
Okay.
like Bernie's suggestion that you darken the walls there. What I will say I really like about that photograph is it's got a lot of different textures that are really interesting to me.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, here's second one.
So I think this would be a fantastic photo, except all the values are so close together.
right.
It's hard to find.
Yeah.
But I really think you could probably fix it. But
David, what would you take out then?
well, your rocks, your sky, and your clouds are all too close in value, so you've got to separate those. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go at it, but I mean, one might be, you know, just starting with like a red filter if you're using Nick, like Ben was saying earlier, and or some filters to separate the clouds from the sky. And then you can,
Well, that's one of the, what you're talking about is something that just rings the bell for the new Lightroom, where you can pick out sky and you could make the clouds a lot whiter and the sky darker without touching the mountains, the snow on the mountains, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it would be a little better if the clouds, there was more whiteness to the clouds, but you wouldn't want to do it for the whole picture, because then the top of the grand would be burned out.
Would this be a photograph on which maybe pushing the contrast slider a little bit more, might darken the blue in the sky, then maybe, I don't know, amplifying the whites a little bit to give it more contrast? I agree with what David said. It's a beautiful photograph, but it needs more contrast.
I was thinking of maybe making it more of a panorama, take out the clouds, that cloud in the upper left-hand corner, cut across. So it pushes more focus on the mountains themselves, particularly the Grand. But I really like this photo.
Yeah, I like it too. Was this taken on the Idaho side?
This is actually from the top of Taylor, so it's almost the Idaho side. I guess what I really struggled with here, and I like the suggestions, is lightening it up or getting more contrast, but not blowing out the snow.
Right.
Because every time I did too much to it, the snow just blew out, which maybe isn't that big of a deal in a black and white, because it's basically white anyways. And I did try and select the sky and kind of get the contrast there going more. And I don't know if I should have just darkened the blue down entirely, almost. May have been really lightened the clouds up and darken the rest of the sky down. Would have been maybe a different way to go. But it was also, it's taken at like 1 PM, which isn't optimal either, but we did at least have clouds in the sky then.
Yeah.
Tim, I would have loved to have seen this taken in an IR.
Yeah,
With an IR
exactly.
camera. Because then your sky's not going to be black, but it's going to be very dark gray, and your clouds are going to be white and show a lot of texture.
Huh,
But
interesting.
especially 1 o'clock in the afternoon is a great time to take IR. That's one reason why I got into it, because my wife liked to hike and being out there in the woods, and at midday, put the regular camera away and pull out the IR camera.
Interesting. I do have an old camera I could probably do that with. No.
Anything else?
Nice photo. The snow, the amount of snow that's in there adds a lot of nice contrast.
Mhm.
I think I would probably have cropped it so that Mount Moran wasn't in on the left. It detracts to me. I'd focus more in on the cathedral group in the middle.
Okay.
Okay.
Tim, did you try it with that new way with Lightroom to just pick out the sky?
Yeah, it didn't work all that well,
Oh, really?
because it kind of picked out the top of the grand too, and
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
there's just not enough. There's not enough separation between some of the mountains and the sky, like other people said. So it kind of required going back in and doing some erasing, and but I tried to lighten up the grand and stuff some, so it stood out a little more. But every time I tried to do that, it just kind of blew stuff out. So it was kind of a fine line there.
yeah, that couldn't require a lot of work. Okay. Is this 3? Let me see. Yeah, this is the 3rd one. What do you think, guys?
Again, I think we're in that very similar tonal range. Not a lot of distinction. I find it busy, and maybe some blacker blacks would help make it jump a little bit, but I like the composition.
Yeah, I think that again, this to me, this image has a lot of potential, if you're willing to spend some time in Photoshop and work on those trees to darken them and build in more contrast into this, because I really like the vertical structures that dominate the image, and then the horizontal tree across the base adds a nice foundation to it. Great, nice image. I think it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think it needs more contrast. So certain things stand out. As it is, it doesn't make the trees or the bushes in behind stand out really clearly. Any other? Okay, what about this one?
This was actually one of my favorite images. I like the story here, and to me, this is one image out of the whole bunch that, to me, told a story, and I like the way the sun rays come through the cloud, whether that's enhanced in Neo. It doesn't matter to me. It works really well, and then the dominant pinnacle on the left-hand side, I think, helps balance that out. A really interesting photograph. I guess that and I don't know whether any of the bottom of the photograph, if there's any more to the bottom of the photograph, it would be nice to see if the base of that monument could be included, but, you know, who knows?
Yeah, I really like this also. It's processed so well so that you can, even with the sun directly, I mean, the camera facing it, you can still see all the detail in the monuments.
And the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like.
My only, I guess I would ask, is this a landscape? But that's kind of a picky point. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
You brought up something interesting because the person who took this picture asked me, well, is it landscape? And it got me thinking, well, how would you define landscape? This is a landscape, but is it a landscape photo? Like, I agree with what the rest of you have said about the story it tells. Probably a really old cemetery.
Yeah, the other thing that I like is you know, it looks like there was some dodging and burning done, especially, you know, in and around some of the monuments, and I think it was done really well because nothing is overdone. It's just enough to get your eye to the 3 or 4 monuments that really kind of jump out in this image. So who did it?
Well, wait, before I say who did it, I think the person is here. Is it a landscape?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I
Okay,
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a death landscape.
I mean, Randy, if we were getting really picky about it and say, is this a nature landscape? No, it's not, but it certainly is a landscape.
I think so. It's landscape. The term landscape, I didn't think there's a real clear definition of it, and I think in my mind, this one meets my definition, but might not meet anybody else's definition. So is the person who took this? I can't see who all is here. Here. Maybe not. Okay.
So who took it? Wait a minute, go back. Who took it?
Arnie took it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That looked like Arnold's picture. Yeah.
What
Did a great job.
what looks like Arnie's about it?
Well, I'll tell you. I guess maybe inside knowledge. I know where he's been traveling and I know what he's been shooting with. So that when he has also posted some other pictures from cemeteries and things recently. So
He really does a good job of taking pictures of things you normally wouldn't, the quote unquote normal person would not necessarily have taken pictures of. And I think this is a good example of it. He takes it of old fire stations and old barns and things like that, and that are really good. This is a very good one, I think. Okay. What about this one?
I thought this was a great pano, and I liked the way the light kind of glowed off to the right side, yet it wasn't real distracting. In the sky on the left, it looks like there's almost lines in there. I'm wondering what those are, like vertical lines.
Oh, right. There's something there.
Yeah, and all the way to the left.
Okay, what do the rest of you think?
There's kind of a suggestion of mystery in this. I mean, we all know it's the Tetons, but I like that kind of point of light behind Moran, which is the setting sun and the shafts of light coming up. And the rest of it's just really moody. I like it.
And doing a panorama at this late in the evening was a trick, I'll bet, for the photographer. I'm assuming that it's not cropped, that it's a panorama.
Let me ask a question for those, the ideas we talked about before were that there was a lot of tones. This one is pretty much black and white with some in between, but not a lot. Does that add to it or take it away from it?
Well, for me, this is one of those that kind of proves there are exceptions.
Mhm.
You know, there have been some beautiful photographs with a tremendous amount of tonality. And I kind of like the minimal use of it in this one.
Yeah, and you can there's still a tiny bit you can see in the mountains, and you can kind of see Jenny Lake there a tiny bit. So it's not total black and white. It's not a total silhouette, which is kind of nice.
And right to the south of Mount Moran, there's a little, where the sun comes out, there's a little bit more showing of that. But I thought this was a good picture, good photo, because it isn't a standard black and white landscape.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have all the tone and all that kind of stuff. We missed something. Wait a
Well,
second.
okay, who shot it?
Who is this?
This is Barney. I shot it. This is at the Hendricks Overlook on Saturday, David, with and you were standing right next to me. And you were shooting on our pano heads. This is actually I shot with both the Z9 and the D800 IR, and this is the D800 IR version of it. And this is about a 13 or 14 vertical pano shot with a 135 millimeter lens. I think those anomalies that were pointed out, thank you for pointing them out, because I never saw them. And that's why it's so important to have other eyes on our images and comments on it. I will go back and look at that. That's probably a stitching error, which
That would be my
maybe can
guess.
be corrected or not.
Yeah, because I get
One of
this.
the reasons why I sent this to Randy was really to, as Sue commented, to show, to be a little bit different, because I figured there'd be a lot of images that have wide range of tone associated with this. And I kind of liked that there was enough detail in the shadow to give us an idea of what's there. And we just lucked out that the sun was in the right position when I pushed the button for the sun rays.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. With a pano, that makes it more difficult. Yeah. Okay. What do you think about this one?
I like it, but I think we could do something with the sky.
Yeah.
I think you could mask that in Lightroom and really kind of play with that to kind of get that to really pop out a little bit. But I like the concept of the road going down there and leading in, and it looks like there's some people driving on it down farther where the dust is.
The dust is, yeah. I really
Yeah,
like this one in part because I was just there last week, and this back road past String Lake, not String Lake,
Slide light.
Slide Lake
I'd like.
is just gorgeous. The mountains themselves, but I do agree with Tim about the sky. That wouldn't be that hard to darken it up a little bit. But the way the road is from left to right, and it starts like you're right on the road. I really like that about it, and the texture in the road of all the rocks that are breaking people's windshields.
I also like the textural difference between the roughness of the road and this really kind of soft feeling in the ridges.
Oh, yeah.
They are pretty spectacular.
Amazing, absolutely amazing, the color of them. And whew. And I like the except for the sky, this picture, the tonal differences that are there, from the white, looks like this, the dust coming up, to the road that's kind of off and on, to the bushes on the left-hand side that are dark, and I think it's green grass that's on the right-hand side that leads in. It's got
Who
lots
shot
of.
it?
Hmm?
Who shot it?
This is Rick Budd. This is the first one I think he's ever submitted before. I was surprised. I don't think he's, Rick, are you here?
Yeah, I haven't seen him, so.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
that.
So, all right.
This is one of my favorites of the whole thing.
One I
Maybe
picked.
because I was just there.
No, the way the road is fills the whole frame at the bottom here and leads you in. Yeah, the sky isn't perfect, but it's a really nice photo.
Yeah. You feel like if you've ever been on that road before, it has real meaning. Okay. That was Rick's. Okay.
Well, there's no question it's black and white.
Also taken from Hendricks Pond Overlook, I think.
Yeah.
Yep, the lake is, the pond is right there.
I really like the dramatic contrast in that with the pond, and then everything's dark around it. I would be inclined to crop off the top to make it much more horizontal, and just to take out some of the white at the top. Now that I'm looking at it. Well, anyway, it'd be interesting to try, but I like it.
Well, I would be inclined to throw it in the trash bin, but since I took the photo. But I actually
Standing next to Barney.
yeah, I actually sent this in to Randy to kind of illustrate a point. I know the theme is black and white, but and not to get into a technical discussion, but really what we talk about is good black and whites are really grayscale photos. A real black and white has nothing but black and white in it. And so that's why I process this one this way. But if you look at Barney's from the similar spot before, it has nice grayscale, even though it's, yeah. And so, the terms are really, there's monochrome, black and white, and grayscale, but really what most of us call black and white are really grayscale photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's why I sent it in. It's more of an educational photo than,
But your Hendricks Pond brings in a little bit of that grayscale.
yeah, I knew somebody was going to say that. I should have made it totally white. You called me out, Ben. So, okay, it's a grayscale photo. Moving on.
Okay. Yeah, I was glad that we had these that were get us to talk about black and white photos. Do they have to have all the various differences in grays? Can it just be black and white? I think that makes it interesting. Okay, unrated, let's go to rated. And now we've got these to vote on. Now, this time around, you only get one vote. So I'll show you big pictures of these. And then for the second round, you vote and get it to David as soon as possible. Just have Is this complete? Ready?
Just remember, everybody, it's now 1, 2, 3, and 4, not and 5. Not,
Oh, thank you, David. Yes, it's a different number.
so
We can't do anything. Oh, I can't do anything about it. So here is number 1, which was number 1 before.
and how many votes do they get?
1 vote.
Okay.
This is number 2. This is number 3. This is number 4. And this is number 5. Here they are for the second round. You could send your vote, 1 vote to David. I'll give him in a large scale again. Oops. That's 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. And this is 5. Okay, send in your single vote and use these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, nobody else is voting, huh? I guess we're done. Oh, wait a minute. We had 1 come in late. Okay. Last chance.
Last chance. Do we have a 1, 2, and a 3, or do we have a bunch of ties again?
Well, you're gonna love this. We have a 4-way tie for second.
So we have a 1 first place and
We
a
have a-
4-way tie. Oh, that's great. Okay.
All right.
Well, we can do this backwards and then we'll go through all 5 of them. Which is number 1? Because we know everything else is a 2.
Yep. Number 4.
Number 4. Okay, so this
There's
is
our winner.
first place. Okay. Okay, people, what do you like about this one?
Well, I'll say there's so much to like. The processing's great. The reflection off the water, the starburst in the sun, the Jesus light or whatever we call it. Yeah,
Crepuscular rays.
come on.
That's coming from our minister.
Yeah.
Don't you like Jesus light better?
No,
Oh. Anyhow,
beams
no,
of
I
heaven
just-
as I go.
Yeah, I just think it's very well processed. It's sharp everywhere. yeah, you can look at it for a long time. Really well done.
Good leading lines.
Yep.
It's so tranquil. It just reeks of tranquility. And the way that the light is centered doesn't take away from it at all. It just really makes it a whole package with the rays going out on either side.
And there's so many different colors. I mean, they're not colors, gray, the zones,
Tones.
from pure white from the sun in the middle to practically pure black in the trees along that, right in the middle, practically the middle, but lots of layers with the mountains. This really stands out to me too, particularly seeing the sun at the top there coming through the clouds like that. I feel like I should be in my kayak and go up the river. Any other feedback?
We took it.
I'll let them say it themselves. They're on it.
I did. It's actually, that's Flat Creek. And so it was just one of those evenings, I was kind of at the desk looking out the window and saying, I think this is going to be an interesting sunset. Must have been there for about 20 minutes as the sun was dropping behind the cloud, and was just lucky. And this is an HDR shot, 3 shots. Because of the brightness of the sun, I really needed to pick up the darks as well.
Because I really like the exposure of this, that you have so many different tones that are in that
Oh.
picture.
Thank you. You know, and I was going to say to Barney, maybe next time we have a what do I do? What really bugged me is there was kind of a halo behind the dark trees. And I'm not clear whether that was the atmospherics, because there was a little bit of rain.
Oh, here?
Yeah. And I've had that with another couple of shots, that if you push the contrast, or you do the sky replacement, in one photograph I did, wound up with this weird halo over part of the landscape. But as I said, maybe that's a one for the next what do I do, or what.
No, it's a little bit atmosphere, but a lot of it's your processing, and that is real common. It's hard to avoid that.
Bugger.
It's
Anyway, thank you.
what does it look like in color?
It's actually still very pretty, because there was a lot of really golden light under the cloud. And it's the same thing, that reflection on the river is gold as well.
Oh, cool.
You know, and then the rest of the landscape is mostly green. The mountains are kind of gray green. But it was a pretty color photograph as well.
Okay, well, let's go back to one. What do you think about this one?
I love this photo. I mean, I guess to be honest, this one was the one I picked for the favorite, and it's very Clyde Butcher-esque, if anybody knows who he is. So yeah, great contrast in the clouds and the road leading away. Yeah, I love the big what do you call it? Not vistas, and this definitely is a vista. So
Yeah, I like the immensity of this, the distance, the depth to it. That's really spectacular, and I think that kind of makes the photograph. Only thing that kind of bugs me are the fence posts in the lower left. I kind of think if you took
I
them
thought
out.
about the fence post too, but then that's part of the picture, really. I mean, you could take them out, but that's part of the picture. And the thing I think about this picture is, if you showed this to somebody east of the Mississippi, and they'd be like, God, where is this? But there's lots of places out here that are like, it goes forever. The thing that I think makes this, for me at least, is this road, this dirt road here that goes off into the horizon down here, I think. I want to go on that road. I'm just really aware of that lately when you have a picture that doesn't have any specific focus except for that road.
And that's why I'd still take out the fence posts, because to me, it kind of, my eye just suddenly gets pulled to the left, and that road is just a great road.
Yeah.
I don't want anything taken away from it. It's a beautiful photograph.
It goes on forever. Anybody else?
This was my number 2. I think I would like to have seen a little bit more of the road in the foreground. In other
Okay.
words, yeah, I'd like to have seen the bottom, not if I don't know if it was shot off or cropped off. I'd like to see a little more in the bottom, and I think it would make it an even better photo. And it's a good, very good photo.
Would grab your attention if it's a little bit wider,
Yep.
kind of like that one backslide route by Slide Lake.
Yeah, going into Red Hills.
Yeah. Anybody else? I have a question. At first, I think of this, the sky on the top third is very, very dark. And then at the bottom lightens up some. What would it look like if it wasn't so dark? The photographer, Ben?
Well, to be honest about this picture, my software crapped out on me, and before I could send this in, and I had my copyright on it at the bottom on the right hand side, so I had to crop it up a little bit.
Oh,
So you do miss a lot of the road. This is actually the middle portion of a 3-shot pano of a storm cell in southwestern Montana. If you lighten up the sky, it just washes out.
oh, really?
Yeah, and this is, the sun is directly behind me practically.
Ah,
I had a couple that were really nice with the road and that, but my shadow was pretty long and in the way. This is shot with a 14 to 24 Nikon. This is a hill. This is on the road between Waterloo and Montana and Cactus Junction, and looking
with
north.
population of 3.
Yeah. Silver Star's just down the road too, but I came up over the rise, and there was this storm cell, this one, and then there's another one to the left that I was trying to pull in, but I just didn't get to it.
What did you consider taking those fence posts out or not?
Nope, because I think that's part of the landscape.
Okay, so you did see them and decide,
yeah.
no, I'm going to leave them there.
Yeah. I even took a couple steps, maybe moved 15, 20 feet to the right to bring more of the road in. And it just didn't have the same lead in that this one did.
Very interesting. Very interesting. The clouds are just amazing. Amazing. Okay. What do you think about this one?
I think it's another gorgeous shot. I mean, all the finalists did a superb job, and
I really like the textures in the cloud.
yeah, and I'm not sure I put into words, but just that huge cloud over what we know as huge mountains, but it makes the mountains look kind of
Dwarfs them.
yeah. but the light coming through the canyon over there is just great.
Yeah, I think the light in the canyon is spectacular. I've never quite seen it like that in a photo where you have so much else going on in the sky.
And maybe the only thing, and I'll see what everybody else thinks, you might take a little off the top and not hurt the photo at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Because of there's so many clouds and they're so big, and God, I would think possibility of rain. There's like a lot of fingers pointing my eyes down to the mountains. But the mountains themselves aren't what's important. It's that here comes the storm.
Yep.
Did it rain after this or before this? Charlotte?
I can't really remember. I just was going up the highway when I saw this, and just pulled off the highway and made the photograph. And
Where on the highway was this taken? Because that canyon. I think-
that's
where was
Death
that
Canyon, Death Canyon. And I was just north of the airport on the highway, Highway 89. And yeah, I think that it probably did not rain because all this is virga and it doesn't quite reach the ground.
Ah.
But it was right at almost at sunset. It was, late in the afternoon. But Ben, I'm a color junkie. And so this black and white stuff is really new to me. And I'm just wondering about how I can improve the processing. Because I look at the others and there's this wonderful contrast, and I don't feel like this photo has it.
It's
Well,
much
I would,
softer.
what I do is just start playing with the slides, move things around, try filters, see what does this do? How does this affect it? And then put it away and then come back to it, and let it, put it on the back burner and let it simmer, and then try some other processing, aspects, structure, texture, filters, maybe a little lens fall off to get, focus in more towards that gap between the mountains and the dry rain.
Like a little bit of custom vignetting.
Yep.
But Charlotte, you're vignetting on this, that there's all this little bit of mountains and this lots of clouds. It makes it a very unique picture to me, photograph to me, because now it's most people, when they take pictures of the mountains, the mountains are the most important thing. Here, the mountains aren't the most important thing. It's the sky. And it's not a blue sky or white and blue. It's whatever kind of thing this is that's happening. I think it's really interesting photo. Okay. What about this one? Talk about an interesting photo.
it's a moon landscape,
Yeah, moonscape.
a moonscape, a moon little scape.
I
Nice
love
start.
the detail in the moon is just exquisite, and the silhouette of the trees is nice and sharp. It's really beautiful, I think.
I'm really curious of how it was shot. I can almost imagine that the moon is really a marble. And it was-
Rolling your way.
Right. And I'm fascinated on how it was shot, really.
He's not here, but I can make a guess at it. I suspect this was taken with a Nikon 100 to 400, but I wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if it was two pictures put on top of each other.
Randy, I don't
it's
think
just a
so.
telephoto. It's just a telephoto shot.
It's a big telephoto.
Yeah, it's the 100 to
almost say it
400.
was a-
No,
it
maybe
was a
even more than
600.
that.
I'd say it was a 600.
Yeah.
I was out
Before.
photographing the super moon, and I got some photographs that were similar to this, and I was just using a telephoto. Mine was not nearly so sharp, not nearly so dramatic. That's why I guess I love this. But we had two super moons, and I bet you this photographer was out photographing the super moon with a telephoto and got the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Just
No,
as
it's
it was
just a-
coming up.
You got to get one with the trees far enough away so they don't
Mhm.
defocus on you when you focus on the moon. But he caught a
Yeah.
night. Whoever shot it got a nice night because there's hardly any atmospheric blur.
Yeah, it's really nice.
This is Lewis's picture, and I'm trying to think of, because my yard is right next to his, and neither of them would have gotten this, I don't think. But he's out taking pictures of the moon quite often, so that's not,
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me. Okay,
I think it's a lovely photo, but it's really missing ET flying across the middle.
and
No, we can fix that.
is this a landscape?
Yes.
Because the two people that sent a photo to me and said, I don't know if this is really a landscape, but I'll send it anyhow. Both of them had really good things to say. I mean, Lewis was one of the people, and the other person was Arnie. And neither of them thought that it really was a landscape picture. And I'm kind of glad that it's kind of wide open, because this is about Earth and moon. Oh, okay, wait a second. That one we've already done. Okay, what about this one?
To me, this is one of those photographs that's, for me, again, is really evocative, which I think a good photograph is, as well as technically good. I like the layers. So the mid-gray foreground, then this stripe of white through there, then the dark ridges in the background of this really ominous cloud. And suddenly there's this really organic arc coming through it. It just is really appealing to me emotionally.
I think it's one of those photographs you could be happy to hang on your wall and look at for a long time. And I would say that about several others of the finalists here too. So,
yep.
And that's kind of the ultimate, to me, is what I want to look at it for a long time.
Agreed.
And remember the day it happened.
Well, I would have to imagine, because I didn't take the photo.
The relationship of Charlotte's picture like this, and this is Becky's picture. It's the storm, and it has a story. And this one is, I assume that's a rainbow there, because it looks like there's actually two parts to it. And I've never thought about taking a picture of a rainbow in black and white. Becky, is that a
I'm here.
rainbow?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, it's a double rainbow. And looking at it on my screen now, I wonder if I didn't send a big enough image, because it looks a little bit more out of focus than what the original was. But anyway, yeah, it was taken out on Antelope Flats Road, and it was a big storm. This was early in the month. And there was a big storm that came over the Tetons. And I was taking pictures of that, but then I turned around, and then there's this incredible rainbow. And I went, whoa, this is really cool. And I thought, well, like you said, I don't know if a rainbow is going to come out very good in black and white, but
It does.
It does.
I think the light was the key here.
Yeah.
Let's see what the Wait a second. Hang on a second. Let me see how big this is. Yeah, the size is 44. Look at this one. There's this one's 1.3 megabytes. This is 44 kilobytes.
Yeah, I think I just sent the wrong size to you.
So, yeah, for everybody who's still on, I mean, when you export, do at least 1800 on the long side, 1800 pixels on the long side, and they'll, and 2,000 or 3,000 won't hurt. If you get much bigger than that, it just gets to be a big file to send. But for what we're doing here.
Yeah,
somewhat-
I found the last 3 or 4 times when people send it to me, if it's a kilobyte, it's likely to be a problem like you've seen, Becky. But I don't know what it is that, how did you do it? You just have to check, because Gigi had the same problem last month.
Yeah, I mean, what are the pixel sizes? What's not just the total file size, Randy? I can't see your screen because
Oh. I don't know how to get you to see.
slide down. Just
Oh, here. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
wait a second. Okay, let me move you out of here.
well. Yeah, see, it's only 640 by 340 where it says dimensions.
Here,
Yeah,
FX.
I mean, that it really needs to be at least close to 2,000 on the longer one.
See, here's
I'm
one.
curious.
Wait a
I'm
second.
curious about the date that she did it. I wonder if we were taking photographs of the same storm looking in different directions.
Yeah, it was,
Can you check the dates?
Yeah, go look
Randy?
at Charlotte's.
Where's the date
Well,
on?
you got to click on
Oh,
Charlotte
20
first.
This was July.
You're not looking at the right thing. Yeah.
This is the 26th of July. And this is.
You're not looking at the same thing.
What is the difference? It's exact.
No, yeah.
that's when it was sent probably.
It-
Because I took this at the beginning of the month.
Metadata.
you- Okay,
What am I? This is metadata, and this is all metadata that it shows, and it doesn't show very much.
okay, click on the other picture real quick.
See, the other picture has dimensions 2000 by 1500. It says that it was shot ISO 800, all
Yeah,
that.
here's the
information.
date. Okay, you got to slide down the dates of the original. Right, God, you keep going past it. Right there. 6/23 is the.
This picture is taken June 23rd, but when I go to this, it doesn't have that information. I don't know why, but it doesn't. And that happens sometimes when people send it to me. So this one, it's got it, this one, it's got it, this one. But sometimes, and I don't know why that happens, because
When
Gigi
you-
and I talked about it a lot.
When you send a photograph, a lot of times you have the choice of how much metadata to send with the photograph.
Yes,
And sometimes you can send only, copyright only, or there's about 3 or 4 choices.
See, I've never looked at that. Wait a second here. Would this make any difference right here? Can you see this? FX and IPTCC.
Well,
Don't fall asleep on us, David.
well, maybe instead of bouncing around here, we can go over it in another meeting sometime.
Okay, yeah, because I think maybe that's one of the things that we should do, is to make sure that people know how to make, before they send it, how big it's going to be. I mean, it doesn't have a huge impact Becky, but yeah, it is different. Okay. Sue, your choice, young lady. Let me see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let out of this and we're gonna go back to this. Wait a second, is that it? Now, are you seeing this whole thing?
Okay, I am. I don't know why I have such a hard time with this.
Because you've won too much.
Yeah, people are free to yell things from
Yeah,
the
that's
audience.
because you've won too damn much, Sue, stop it.
So, as I said, people are welcome to yell things from the audience here. I was not in the group when we used to have the two groups meeting separately that did the negative space. I'm inclined toward that.
Okay,
Any comments from the gallery?
I'd like to see anyone on the left hand that's actually the composition themes. So negative space would be a good one. Anything would be a good one. I mean, we're only halfway into the year.
Let's do that.
Negative space. For August. Okay, we have articles about that, Sue, but go out and look. You're really good at getting the articles. So go ahead and send me some more articles and I'll put these things up tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe not the articles, but I'll get the other stuff up on the website tomorrow and try to get it out, get the negative space upgraded within Monday or Tuesday, something like that. How's that?
Sounds good.
All righty.
And Randy, it's only a couple of days before I need to get the newsletter out. So if you could shoot the 5 finalists over that.
I will send you something probably tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
All righty.
Randy, I'll send you a better image.
Okay, that will be fine because I'll be putting it in the website and I'll be having, because David will include probably all 5, I would think, of these photos.
Yeah, because we had 4 ties. Tell
Yep.
Ben to send the one in with his signature on the bottom with more road.
Yeah. Ben, are you here? He's already gone home. That's
He-
okay.
He went to sleep.
Okay. Went to see his grandson. Okay. I will get something to you probably tomorrow. I will definitely get it to David, the pictures and stuff by tomorrow, and probably get to you something on email to harass you a little bit and you and other people. But thank you very much for coming. I thought we had some good discussions and negative space will give us some good pictures. All righty.
Outstanding photos, everyone.
Yep, I thought they were real good. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.